I remember interviewing Jeffrey Bernard years ago, who is a, difficult alcoholic. And he said, oh, families, all that hatred passed down from generation to generation. I just want to sort of get out of it. Is that what you see? How did you go about doing the book in the first place?
I mean, well, I think I knew from, my decades of work that families really matter. And every client that ever walked through my door, whatever their presenting issue was, they would spend great tracts of time talking about their family of origin or the family they were trying to make. And I also know that in crisis, whether you're in crisis or in celebration, we need family as our kind of team, as the bedrock of our lives, that it's the place that you can go back to, and it's the place you can have fun and celebrate with. And also, of course, that family is the single most important influence on a child's life and their outcome. All their relational stuff gets programmed into them through their family. And very much, as Mark said, from the two previous books that I wrote, which were both about living losses, This Too Shall Pass, and grief, I know that the suffering or the loss or the secret or the trauma from one generation that isn't processed in that generation does get passed down to the next generation until someone's prepared to feel the pain. Because as Mark says, feelings are there as transmitters of emotion. They're there to give us information. Oi, something is up. And actually, it's the things that we do to block the emotions, whether it's self-medication with drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, whatever it is, or the way we act them out, that is the model that you give your children and your family, which they then learn how to deal with their emotions. And of course, we now know from lots of research all over the world, but the one I looked at particular was Rachel Yehuda's research in Israel about epigenetics, that if you're born to someone with unprocessed trauma, you have heightened levels of cortisol in your body. The genetics come through your system. It's not inevitable, but it's likely. And so I really wanted to unpick that, why I felt that those reasons were why some families managed in adversity and why some families fragmented. I felt it was all the fault lines from the previous generations, and whatever was happening in the moment was intensifying their distress. And so I wanted to look at, through working with them in this particular family, because I think the most personal is the most universal. What in this particular family was what fragmented them, and this particular family, what held them together. And so when you asked me how, half the case studies were in my caseload already. So I said to them, listen, I'm working with you as a single person. What would you think about working with your mother and your teenage daughter, or your daughter going to university? And then the other ones, like the 5-generation Orthodox Jewish family, I happened to do a seminar for Jewish care, and I put a notice up on the board saying, was there an Orthodox Jewish family that would work with me? And I got a reply the next day, and I got this incredible Berger family where the great-grandmother, Catty, was a Holocaust survivor. And of course, again, what Mark was saying, actually, I thought I'd see transgenerational trauma passing through that family. But Catty had actually processed her trauma. So trauma is never inevitable. It's affected a lot by your genes, by your circumstances, and mainly by the meaning you make of your experience.